right, Real Amigos, we are here tonight talking real estate conspiracy theories. Last time on the show, Kevin started dropping some like craziness, so I had to bring my my hat for this and make sure we're good to go. We have a great guest tonight. We have Javier Vidania, one of the larger YouTubers talking in the real estate space. Super excited to have him joining us. He's going to be here in about 10 minutes. So super excited for that. But welcome, boys.
Thanks, Jeremy. Appreciate it. I love the hat. It's looking slick on you, bro.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I had
man. White chocolate Hershey. White chocolate.
Well, I had this in the back of my closet, so I've just had it for a while, so ready to go. Ian, real quick before we jump into all of this stuff, how was your trip last week? Big time New York traveling. Got to ring the bell with Real Broker. How was that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the same as it went for you, but it was a really good trip. It was my first time in New York, so doing the whole saw the Statue of Liberty and Times Square, and ended up Queens because I missed my flight from Brooklyn. So yeah, it was good. It was good.
We got to see the Statue of Liberty together. That was fun.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, we did we did a couple of those Dave Portnoy tries, and I gotta admit I was a little not impressed with his 9-point scores. But I gotta say, Nancy's back. She's under Jack's account. Nancy, welcome back. I do have to say, you know, you hear things about different cities and then you go visit and it's a totally different experience. So I do have to say that the last time I was in New York was probably 15, and coming back with my wife, we got to do a little club action one night, got to ring the bell, do the whole Times Square thing. I had way more fun than I thought it would, probably too much fun. So
is there such a thing as too much fun though, Jeremy? Really?
No.
I'm back in one piece. Didn't get arrested. I'm in good shape, man. That's all I care about.
Well, you're in New York. You probably get away with a lot there.
So we got Javier coming on in a minute. We're going to talk conspiracy theories. I want you to drop the conspiracy theories or the things that you are seeing in the market in the comments. So conspiracy theories, some things we'll talk about today. Obviously, somebody on my channel came after me. I don't know if it was this person getting upset with me for not buying into the whole BlackRock thing. So we're going to talk BlackRock, corporations buying up properties. One thing I'm seeing now, and there's especially one channel that's going full throttle into the everything's crashing, market crash. Obviously, Ian wants to talk about some fun stuff as well. So we're going to talk conspiracy theories tonight. What's going on in the market? Let's start with Kevin. Javier is going to jump on in a second, so we'll add him on. But Kevin, what are some of the conspiracy theories that you're hearing, or some of the things out there that you think are, questionable coming out?
Conspiracy theory. Conspiracy theory is a broad range, right? In many cases, people say conspiracy theory. They talk to people that have what they think is a unpopular opinion more so, and then there's a lot of facts around that popular opinion, but it's just something that's almost too crazy to be true, right? Mm-hmm. So then you're labeled as a conspiracy theorist. So the way I see this stuff is like, yeah, they're conspiracy theories because they're the hot button, but maybe it is that they're just things that are too good to be true, or not too good to be true, but they're too crazy to feel like that they're true, but they actually are. And excuse me, I'm choking here. For the record, I also haven't had coffee in 2 days, so today was pretty rough for me.
What's wrong?
Going through. I just decided I wasn't going to drink it anymore. I figured 1,000 milligrams a day was too much, so I probably better back off a little bit. This one's interesting. I brought it to Jeremy earlier. Does climate change affect real estate prices? We'll start with the fun. What do you think? Does climate change affect real estate prices, guys? Is it possible?
Oh, this is a tough one. I don't know that there's going to be any kind of proven statistical data to align with that. However, I do think people make decisions based on what they believe, right? And so based on that, if someone's relocating, I could see a few people here and there, like a sprinkling, a smattering of people. Yeah.
That's actually real. I'm not surprised that you said that, but it's actually funny that you said that, because the article that is cited is a newer one, actually. Review of Financial Studies, Volume 33, Issue 3, March of 2020, pages 1256 through 1295, if you're wanting a reference, because the best conspiracy theories always have information to back it up, right?
Of course.
So the title of the article is, Does Climate Change Affect Real Estate Prices? Only if you believe in it.
Yeah.
So that's what it is if you believe that climate change is real, then it will affect your buying decisions. Therefore, it will affect the market. Now, that goes into another not conspiracy theory, but hot take that I have after this. But really, this one doesn't necessarily affect the entire market, but does affect a lot of what I would say coastal or properties that are in areas that I think would be greatly affected by the results of climate change. So that's one of my crazy ones. What do you think?
Yeah.
What does your antenna say?
I mean,
let me say this first too, for Jeremy's sake. I am agreeing to be the scapegoat, as Michael Scott would call it tonight. So I'm willing to take the heat on a lot of the hot takes tonight, because there will be quite a few of them. So if these guys want to play fence sitter or center of the road, I'm totally happy with that. So there you go. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, look, if it depends on what your definition of climate change is, or what did you say? What was the conspiracy theory?
Does it affect real estate prices?
Yeah. All right. So look, if you're going to look at, rising tides and things like that, and say that it's going to impact developments, I don't know. Miami's still building. Florida's still building. I think down the line, as we see potentially more catastrophic events happen, like the condo or the apartment building that fell, a lot of people say that had to do with climate change. You got to give me a lot more evidence to show that it actually was climate change that caused that. That's just me. I'm a more of an evidence-based guy, but no, the answer is no. I don't think climate change affects prices. Only if you think it does.
Yeah.
Ian.
I answered first.
Yeah. Ian's thinking the same thing. I actually, what was that?
That's what I was laughing at earlier.
Oh my gosh.
It depends on which direction you're flushing.
Right. Well, if you're in Australia.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's part of a greater. The answer is no. The answer is probably it only affects it if you think it's going to affect it. I think maybe we're in Austin, so we don't have the same straight up effects of the climate change. Maybe. I mean, it depends on how you look at it. I guess all climates everywhere are affected by it. If you believe that that's true. For example, our lake. You remember a few years ago when Lake Travis was at the lowest possible levels ever?
I do. 2015, right?
It was
that was crazy.
It was crazy. People were talk about cleaning up on real estate.
Yeah.
People were just swiping houses for a quarter of what they are today.
Yeah, you could pick up what the case was, because there were houses that were supposed to be lakefront, right?
Yeah.
And they weren't lakefront at all, right? So that was the time to buy.
Right.
So it did actually. I mean, if you believe in that, then yes, during that time, whenever that was all going on, then people would say that was part of climate change. The funny part about that, though, I remember at that time when that happened, they said all the experts, and this is why I don't listen to talking heads anywhere. I guess we are talking heads when it comes.
We're all talking heads.
We're humble. We're humble about it, at least. Yeah. They said it would be years of rain before that thing filled back up again.
Yep.
And what happened that fall? We had a ridiculous amount of rain, and we went actually over capacity within like 30 days.
Yeah.
That thing.
3 weeks of rain, and that whole thing was full. Had you bought a home 3 weeks before or put something under contract 3 weeks before, you probably, I mean, your price difference was probably $100,000 difference. I mean, I remember looking at properties in the 550 range in the lake, and we were standing there looking down the valley of where the water would come in. It was dry. I mean, you saw all these dry docks just sitting on the ground. And my client was like, I just don't see the water ever coming back. So boom, there you go. It was like, but yeah. So, I mean, I guess it depends. I mean, climate change can affect real estate prices because low lake, high lake, I mean, prices were different. So yeah, I've changed my mind. Climate change.
I thought that'd be a fun one to start off with tonight. Not too heavy into the stuff. Not too thunder stealing.
Yeah. Well, we got Javier here. Welcome to the channel, sir. I'm gonna find. Let's see. Where do I have his? No. Yep. There you go. Here we go. Boom. Javier Vidania out of. Oh, here. Hold on. Get that out of there. Okay, come on. All right, there we go. Out of Phoenix, Arizona, Chandler, Arizona, I believe. Welcome to the channel, my friend.
What's up, guys? How are you?
Fantastic. What's up with Kyle Seagraves?
Oh, that's my alter ego.
So I wanted to bring you on the channel because recently you've done some really good content talking about you actually took the time to go in and look at some of the previous sales that have happened, the cash sales, and find who's actually buying some of this stuff cash, and looked into it, followed the LLC, followed the money, and came up with some interesting conclusions. So I thought it'd be perfect to have you on and talk about conspiracy theories. You ready to go?
I don't know about conspiracy theories, but I'm ready to talk about the cash stuff.
Yeah. All right, fence sitter. He can be a fence sitter too.
No, I like to. I mean, obviously, I named it this whole thing conspiracy theories, and I got my hat. But I mean, for a long time, we heard, okay, everybody's buying, like, BlackRock's buying up all this stuff. All the, we heard all these things, and then for a while there, I know you were even talking about the market crashing. You did quite a few videos back to back about the market crashing. You've since kind of changed your position, maybe a little bit.
I heard you guys are talking crap about me too.
Probably.
I live stream where it says Ian and Jeremy are talking bad about you because you switched your tune for the housing market. I was like, oh, okay.
Right. Well, we bring people on we don't agree with sometimes. That way we can hash it out. That's what makes it fun, man.
For sure. Yeah. Sorry. What were you saying?
No, go ahead. So you've changed a little bit on some of those things. So let's talk about. Well, first of all, tell us about your channel, what you've done, and some of the videos you've done recently.
Yeah, so last year when the pandemic hit, it hit me a little harder than most. I have a 2-3-year-old daughter who suffers from seizures. So when that pandemic, the virus started really going crazy, March, April, it was really scary time for us. So there was a time where I shaved my head, and because I couldn't even go out to a barber, and I really took it seriously. So that kind of fear seeped into my videos a bit, where for I want to say the first maybe mid of 2020, I was talking a lot about that and I give me credit, I never said the market was going to crash, although my titles and thumbnails were pretty misleading. I always said you should not consider buying unless you seriously have like a long-term plans. Excuse me. So yeah, that's kind of where I want to say I sold my soul a bit, and I was really leaning into that. And then come this year, I just realized that there's just a lot of people spreading that, not using that negativity and spread it even further. And I was actually affecting people's lives, goals, and decisions. And I mean, I think we all know if you would have bought last year in December, November, you're pretty in a good spot now. So I just felt instead of being something negative, I just wanted to be more positive. So I switched it around and started talking more about educational. And then I really turned around this last month or two, turning my sights on the corporate cash buyers, just to see if they're actually legit or not.
So yeah, that's where I want to lean into. I do want to come back and talk about the market a little bit because obviously every week it changes and more stuff comes out. So I do want to talk about that. But this conspiracy theory, I will call it. I know you have good data for it, so that's why I brought you on. So there's the conspiracy theory that BlackRock and these corporations, Wall Street, are coming in and buying up all the real estate, forcing homeowners to be, or the average person to be a renter for life. Tell us some of the information you pulled up, and I want to talk about that and dive into that.
Sure. So this all started when I was on a live stream, and somebody said, "Oh, it's all BlackRock buying it," and I said, "It's bull crap. I'm sick of everyone saying that. I'm going to literally pull up 10 closings live here on this stream and show you guys it's full of crap." And I did, and I was wrong. Like 8 of them were corporate cash buyers, and like 3 or 4 of them were one company. So I was like, I'm wrong. I need to look into this more, and I did, and I identified there's about, well, I mean, my local market's Phoenix. I'm noticing if you want to find out which cities are being targeted the most, if you go on Zillow and you look at houses just listed by Zillow homes, you're going to see the major markets that are being targeted, and they're just like everyone else. They're targeting those. So I think where you guys are, for sure, you guys might be seeing that a lot too. Other metro areas as well, but essentially, from what I deduced in my specific city, there's about 2 or 3 major companies buying properties at a high rate. And they're essentially, let's say a house is for $330, offer gets in at $360, $380 cash, and really no home buyer, even if they're waiving their contingency or waiving their inspections, has no shot. And I followed the LLCs, and I basically determined that one of them is Progress Residential, which then Progress Residential is owned by, I don't remember the name of it right now in front of me, but essentially they're a major a fund of just specifically focusing on what they call SFR homes. And essentially their purpose is to buy these properties and be able to turn them into high price rentals, which here in Phoenix, like over $2,000, which is really crazy because, rentals here used to be $1,000 to $1,500 for the longest time. If you're looking for it, it's like somewhere near the end. Oh, that's the Zillow one. Yeah,
which one was it?
It's the other one with the black question marks, or the black people question marks there.
Oh, there you go. Gotcha. Yeah. Okay, cool.
So it's toward the end. I can look it up real quick too on my end.
But what I like about what you did here, and this, so I watched this whole video because, man, I loved how you systematically went through and looked at this and basically followed the money. And when you got to this part right here, so I definitely recommend you come back, anybody, and watch this. If you don't subscribe to Javier, I highly recommend you do. He does put out some really good content. So, but I love that you broke it down and found it to this. So tell us what happened. Like, you broke it down and you came down to kind of these 3 companies, and they were all kind of under an umbrella, I believe, under this. So why don't you walk us through what happened there?
Yeah, so found out that Progress Residential is essentially just a giant rental company. They're going all the major areas, and they're having these really expensive rentals. And Pretium is where they're basically being funded. It was founded by, I think, a big heavy hitter at Goldman Sachs, I believe, who, I think, if you listen to that podcast, or I mentioned that in my video, there's also a link there. They talked specifically about back in the, I think, early 2010s, seeing the potential opportunity of all these quote unquote millennials, is the word they used, of them not being able to afford a home or be able to purchase a home. And that's a key opportunity for them to turn them into rentals. And because according to them, they need a place to live. But what happened, and what I mentioned in the video that I found very interesting, is that wasn't true. There was a lot of people 2018, 19, maybe even early 2020, that were not only able to afford a home, but they were able to buy. There was, I think, 2015 to 2020. I mean, I wish I would have, if I would have had the channel I am now, it would have been amazing. But the problem is, it wasn't true. So in that sense, when the pandemic hit, they started purchasing a bunch of properties, and either if it wasn't the intention or not, what happened is it created the environment of making it difficult to buy a home. But it wasn't happening naturally. It only happened after they started really buying up a bunch of properties.
Interesting. Kevin, we talked on the phone not so long ago, and you had a pretty strong opinion as far as companies buying up. Why don't you share? I mean, it kind of talks exactly what Javier was jumping in on. What was your perspective? What were some of the things you were finding?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things we saw previously where it depends on who you ask too and who's writing the articles, because this information it's not like you can just go find a lot of people that have already compiled this information. Most of it is you have to follow the trails, like Javier said. You have to go really into the detail, be curious about where this is happening. Some of it has where was my article at? I'm gonna make sure I have it up here somewhere. I've got so many articles pulled up right now. Anyways, but there's proof that these companies are massively going through and taking advantage of either the cash ability that they have, or most of them actually. I found like BlackRock, those guys, if they're not paying cash for it, they'll say that they're paying cash for it, but really they're borrowing that money at a corporate rate of like 1.5%. And so they're benefiting greatly during this time. I mean, there's so many macroeconomic factors at play here with everything that's going on. It's hard to say, like, it's just like the joke of us saying, does climate change affect housing prices? No, the reality is there's not one specific thing that does affect housing prices, but all of them affect it together as they're moving in the same direction. And in a market like we have right now, is BlackRock, or what is the name of their subsidy home, or the home group that they actually buy homes with? I can't remember. Are they fundamentally changing it? I mean, they're taking enough market share away in a time that homes aren't even available that, yeah, they are massively changing the way that the market is moving right now. Combination of COVID and everything else, though, it is taking the opportunities away from the normal retail buyer to buy a home at a reasonable price at the moment. And don't get me started on the next thought about that is, it really gets down to a housing inventory issue as well. And that, to me, is the same group of people that are all working together. The D.R. Horton, Lennar, Pulte, KB, Taylor Morrison, Meritage, Toll Brothers, Century, LGI, those there are 13 of the top 15 home builders in the country, and they build here in Austin right now. So don't act like these guys aren't as equally responsible. They remind me of Apple or anybody else holding features out on a new product. They're artificially keeping homes off the market so they can keep these prices high or keep inventory low so that their crony friends at BlackRock or wherever they are can bring their cash money in and buy these homes incrementally as well. So it's all these factors that play together, I think, that make the biggest difference.
No, you're good. So this is a good PPD podcast. So what's his name? Barry Habib talked exactly about what Javier said. And he said, and I've actually cited this in other videos, that they looked at, he had an investment firm as well. They looked at all the millennials that were going to be in the market. They got out of the market right before 2008 because they saw that there was going to be a lot of millennials, or that 33 age group, not in the market. And they started buying again back in 2020 or 2019 because they saw that there was going to be a lot of, millennials back in the market in that buying age. So that's why they knew that the market was going to be nice and primed in 2020, 2021. So, Ian, I'll let you jump in, man. You got something up over here.
Yeah. So one of the articles I pulled up, you can read the headline. It says they're buying not all the houses, but the most important ones. And then as you scroll down, you start to see, it was interesting. They mentioned areas that they were focusing on, like Atlanta, Phoenix, Charlotte. And I remember thinking, well, I'm looking at this data. I'm looking at the same houses. I'm not necessarily seeing them target Austin. I'm not seeing a lot of homes from some of these institutional single-family residences from some of these institutional investors in Austin. But this is my experience when I'm looking. It's not like I was digging like Javier and like Kevin said. So I just I don't know what their level of presence is here. I think. Obviously, Phoenix, 20% in Phoenix, that's a high percentage in my opinion. Yeah. And I think Austin, just because of our current price increases, our influxes in price, it's a little harder for them to do that here. Because houses that a couple of years ago people were paying such a small amount for we've seen the prices. So I don't think they can necessarily do the same thing here unless they're catching people before they go on market.
So, I mean, there's two sides of that too, because you have like the iBuyers, right? Zillow's buying up stuff off market and putting it on the market. You have what's it called? Opendoor and a lot of these other ones doing that. So you have those people as well. And I think that would, I mean, that's a different niche market, right? Because a lot of those homes need some rehab. But I have an interesting stat for you. Out of the last 30 days in Austin, what would you think the percent of closed sales in the last 30 days were cash sales?
In the last 30 days?
Last 30 days. I got the numbers right here.
I'll say 20 to 30%.
I was going to say, let's go with 45%.
Wow, that's high. Okay. Kevin, what do you think?
33%.
Yeah, you're all right there. 31, almost 32% of homes sold in Austin in the last 30 days closed. So 970 sales. But think about this, and this is something Javier's talked about, and this is why I really do love his channel, is that out of 3,000 sales in our MLS in the last 30 days, 970 were cash, 2,560 were conventional. So a majority of sales were conventional. You know, VA 139 sales and FHA 141. I think that's the biggest problem with all of this. And we've talked about this. We've had the mayor of Kylon. The biggest problem is those affordable homes, right? The under 350s, what we consider more affordable, 250s, all of that's been purchased. In the last, I pulled up SFR homes, right? So single family homes. Guess what the lowest price sale out of all of Austin was?
Austin proper?
Austin. Yeah. Austin. Well, I pulled up Williamson County. Yeah. Austin proper. What do you think
single
the
family
lowest
homes?
Single family home. What do you think the lowest price was?
350.
It was 200,000, which is crazy. And that was like one. The next highest was like 275. So all of that stuff
was probably falling over too, right?
Yeah. So there wasn't a lot of sales. And I know Javier's talked about this. Javier, you're seeing this too, right? That a lot of those like more affordable sales are getting purchased by these companies.
Yeah, they're going for here it used to be 250, but now 300,000 is the key home buyer range. They're going for those. They're not going for 500, 600. I mean, maybe occasionally, but they're going for the easy ones because, I mean, once again, I can't speak on their intention, but you knock out the home buyers there. They have to go somewhere. They're not just going to live with their mom and dad their whole life. What are they going to do?
So this is all concerning stuff, but I've seen a trend recently, right? And I want to get your take on it because the trend that I'm seeing, you have all of these people coming out saying, like, just like we're talking about, big corporations are buying up all the inventory and it's a terrible time to buy because the market's going to crash and there's nothing to buy for. And we've talked about this. I feel like we've probably propagated some of this as well because we talk about how hard it is to buy. But what is it? Do you feel like there's a push to incentivize people not to buy right now with a lot of these articles that are coming out? And if so, why?
Yeah, that's going deep. You have to really speculate there because it is. There's some people on my Discord channel were sending me articles about folks who, big publications making, it's okay to rent and stuff like that. So I can't speak as if that's the case, but I can say that I do feel bad that I was instigating this kind of fear mongering earlier in this year because I feel like the best way to combat this is for people to become homeowners. I have a video coming out today after this, I believe, where I found another of these companies, and it actually tied to a company based out of Dallas, who then was tied to it's essentially like an investor exchange where investors can log in and click in and buy portfolios. And it's just, well, I don't know where I was going with that point, but my point is that the best thing you can do as home buyers is to own a home, so that way they have one less person to rent it out to. The real big change doesn't happen until homeowners decide to actively say, you know what, I'm going to turn down the extra $20,000 cash. I'm going to take a risk on a home buyer. I'm going to try to keep home ownership available to just home buyers. And on top of that, I mean, we have to allow people, most people are not going to invest in the stock market. Their only investment is going to be their house. And they're essentially robbing them of that by forcing people to start renting at homes. It really, you can really talk about this. It's really, it's a play. It's a play, but people are focusing on the housing market when instead they should be focusing on strengthening their situation so they can be able to beat one of these cash buyers.
I will take all the hot takes away from you. I'll take the heat for it. I don't mind to say it. I'll say it. I'll just say it. If you're doing research on this on your own and you're looking in the first 10 pages of a Google search for any relevant term, the information that you find is going to be shady at best. This is why I'm telling you, if you want the information, you have to go find the information. You have to be MacGyver and go figure out how you're going to solve the problem. I'll give you a prime example. For one, if there's a major media company that writes something, I don't believe them anyway. And if I find multiple major media companies that are writing against something that I think is a conspiracy theory, it solidifies it in my mind that there's something shady going on there. 1,000,000%. So when I started searching for this about BlackRock and looking for information, guess how many articles I found about BlackRock not being the bad guy? From Vox, The Atlantic, like all these media outlets that write professionally, they professionally write articles. Their pseudo journalism is basically what it is. It's opinion based journalism is exactly what it is. Journalism, opinion articles based using journalism overlays so that you don't know the difference between the two of them. I'm going to read to you one of the articles defending BlackRock. Okay. Saying that they're not the bad guy in this case. Investors go where the yield is. They are profit maximizers, and this is on Vox's website. They are profit maximizers and face strong pressure to return large gains to shareholders. Do you want to stop them? Build more homes, ensure that they can't not have large market share and engage in predatory behavior, and reduce the incentive for yield chasers to further commodify the market. You've got to be kidding me that the solution that a pseudo journalist writes is telling us, the general reader, to just go, oh, you don't like it? Go build more effing homes. That'll increase the inventory, obviously, which will reduce the prices that people pay because it's the supply and demand curve. I mean, seriously, that to me, that alone, that one article solidifies it to me. Something shady is going on here, and these guys are at the center of it.
Okay. Ian, what's your take?
I was kind of lost in Kevin's his rant. And then I saw Joel. He was like, who owns Vox? And so I'm over here looking up who owns Vox because I'm all curious now.
It's not just who owns them. I mean, we all know who owns these media companies. They own the same people that they're sharing a table with on other markets, right?
So I think one thing that you said was interesting, Kevin, and I kind of equate it to like information wildfire. So if you have a concept that is popular and getting people excited and creating some kind of controversy, I think people are just jumping on the bandwagon. And that's happening a lot, just like it is in YouTube or on Clubhouse or any other platform. So I think that's happening a lot. So when you say the first page of Google, well, the first 8 pages are because of that reason, because all of these people are just going back and forth to similar articles, not because any of them are more valid than the other.
Yeah, no, it's interesting too, because if you go search anything about the crash, those are the most watched videos. Yep. They get the most clicks. If you look at the comments, there's more people arguing. I see a lot of angry people out there. And look, everybody has a right to be angry right now. But if you've bought a home and you're in the process of buying a home and you're finding something, I don't know what there is to be mad about. Low interest rates. Yes, prices are higher. It is making it tougher. And then we have builders still playing a lot of games. One of the comments back and forth Javier and I were talking about was, what construction companies are doing or builders are doing. And we've talked about builders a lot on this channel. Javier, I want to get your take on this. With lumber prices coming down, right? Does that mean that builders are going to start building more? Because that's what we need, right? We need more inventory. So does that mean builders are going to be building more?
I think, yeah, if there's more land to build, they're going to build more. But this idea that they're going to start lowering their prices just because prices are cheaper is just completely crazy. I think people forget that they're for-profit companies. People say, "Oh, the lumber price is down. Does that mean the prices are going to go down?" No, that just means they got a much better profit.
Yeah, they have better margin.
Way better margin. That's all that means. As long as people are lining up, making hundreds, 100 people wait list for these houses, they can, the lumber prices can go to zero and it could be free to build a house. But as long as people are buying, they're going to continue to make a lot of money. So I do think as long as there's more land to be made, houses to be built on, they will continue to be built. And as long as people buy them at the price that they say they're going to buy them, then it's going to continue to rise. I remember new builds being like ghost towns. And from 2000, I got a license in 2013. From 2013 to 16 or 17, I don't think I did a single new build ever. They were like places I would stop to get water if it was a hot day. I would never it was super rare. So once it gets to that point where people just stop buying them and they are forced to lower their prices, that's when things start happening. But now, no.
There's some interesting articles coming out. CNBC put one out today. I'm going to do a video about it next week, but talking about that the demand for builders is down and the overall inventory is up. So do you think that means that builders are going to have to make some concessions now and actually, what are they going to do? Are they going to lower the amount of inventory they have even more? What do they do?
It's a good point. I don't know. I think when they start getting desperate, they'll start bringing back incentives because I don't know. At least here in Phoenix, they stopped giving incentives. So the incentive became to get one, not necessarily hey, we're going to pay your closing costs for you. If you're going to start seeing that first, and then if that doesn't work, then you'll start seeing price reductions. And then I think that if there is going to be a market adjustment, the first people to reduce their prices are going to be builders, not people who are trying to resell, because people are stubborn. Home builders are probably more conscious of their budget. So I think what will happen.
Kevin, I know you got tons of opinion on builders, and in the past you've been like, "Hey, builders, make all the money you can," right? Well, that's not exactly what you said, but you've said on this channel a few times, if it was you and you were the builder, would you maximize your profits as well? What are your thoughts?
I worked for companies where they're like, let's not be hasty here. Every company that's publicly traded has shareholders.
Yes. Their
desire is to meet the shareholders' requirements and maximizing profit every single year because their bonus depends on it. Their quality of life, the CEO, the CTO, their quality of life depends on those companies making profit or not being the good guy. Let me tell you how messed up that entire, and trust me, I believe in the benefits of capitalism relative. I do. However, there's also this layer of corruption across everything, and it's all driven by money and power. Like, let's just be straight honest with you. So yeah, these companies right now, the builders, they're getting while the getting's good. They're living this dream of, hey, the yields are good in real estate right now. We can get away with it. Like, let's just do it. They don't care about the end user. They care about end profit. Let me tell you how messed up a lot of this stuff is. I found an article. You guys know It's a Wonderful Life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who's that movie? Who's the good guy in that movie? Do you know? You probably haven't seen it as many times as I had.
Apparently.
Yeah. It's Jimmy Stewart, right? Who runs the building and loan, right? And so he has this money, he loses the money, and then the whole rest of the movie he's going to take his own life. And then at the end of the movie, I'm sorry, spoiler alert, you've had 100 years to watch this movie. If you haven't seen it. But they do this little Christmas party at the end. He's like, oh, I've changed my life. And then his wife got everybody together and they all raised money for him and all is saved and blah, blah, blah. Christmas is served forever. I found information. I found a guy that wrote an article that said that he's not even the hero of the movie. They see Henry Potter, the cranky old man who just wants people. I mean, think about it. He wants people to rent from him. This mindset has not changed in 100 years. It was the same then. It was centralized money wanting to own all of the homes and wanting people to rent in that space. They do not want them to go to the building and loan and buy their own house. That's the American dream, according to Peter Bailey, right? Or what is his name? I can't. Harry Bailey. I don't remember his name.
George Bailey.
George Bailey. I'm sorry. Thanks. Good call. But anyways, but they're actually saying that Henry Potter is the good guy in that case because he just wants what's best for people. He's keeping the building and loan afloat. He's giving them the loans. He's giving those people a quality of life that they can deserve. I mean, you got to be kidding me. That's what I'm saying is like, we see this from our perspective, but these guys don't feel guilty about what they're doing because they see that they're offering people something that they want.
That was genius, and I'm going to use it. I'm going to credit you in my video. Just heads up.
Yeah, I like that.
I love that movie. I never
So
thought it.
I'll send you the article that the guy.
Christmas.
You have to read that article. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, no, I love that movie, and that's the perfect way of describing it because it's an idea that's not new, but they just took advantage of the pandemic to start to really hit the Death Star button, right? The freaking laser destroys Alderaan. That's what's happening right now.
Well, there's I believe that there's this last thing I'll say, and I'll shut up for a minute. I'll go get a drink. But for the longest time, and it is still the truth, that whoever controls the information has the most power, right? But for years, we relied on the information being shared through archaic channels. First, it was, pigeons. Then it was, people riding horses. And then it was, thank God, the telephone. And then if you wanted any news information, you had to listen to the radio. Or see it in a printed newspaper. The radio owned by a group of people, the newspaper owned by a group of people. Then they invented television, and run by basically three groups of people, the three major networks. So, and then all of a sudden, here we are at the speed of information. Like, if I want to, by the time I find out what's going on, it's already old news because Twitter has already told me about it.
Yep.
So, in order to control the information anymore, you have to go back to these older beliefs that it's just like, hey, we're in control of all this stuff. Whether you know about it now or not, doesn't matter. We're still going to do it. And we don't even care if you know. We're just going to shove it down your throats because this is who we are. We're the powerful people that run this country.
Ian, what's your take on Kevin's tirade?
I'm on a hot one tonight.
So there's a correlation with things like if you look at this generation and what they're experiencing as far as service and paying a subscription for it, I think they're kind of psychologically prepared to be able to handle that. And so GT, the real OG, at 7:33 p.m. said that. He said millennials and Gen Z, they're trying to get them to rent instead of own. Well, if you look at everything that we're doing right now, you look at our music, our shows, our software programs, Microsoft, and soon, I guess, our operating systems now for our computers, renting cars, renting space, land, boats, everything. It kind of makes sense that real estate being a little more antiquated as far as things happen. It makes sense that people are trying to push that agenda, renting instead of owning. Makes sense.
Sorry for dogging our builders. I see Joel's in there. My bad, dude.
Joel's not a builder. Joel's
not
buying.
Joel. I'm sorry. Who's the other guy that's in our stream all the time from KB?
Rob. He works for
Rob. That's right. Yeah. Sorry about that.
KB.
Yeah, he's not on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So not that I agree with it, of course. It's just
so two topics I do want to talk about before we get to much further here. I do want to talk about builders and just builders in general, because I feel like there's some things I'm seeing starting to change. So I want to talk about that. But the other thing I want to talk about too is this. I mean, we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but I want to bring it in. Is this whole push for clicks and push for the market crashing? I want to get your opinions on what are indicators that the market is going to turn. Is affordability the major issue for why we're seeing it slow down? Is it seasonality? I just want to get your takes on that, and I'll follow up at the end and give you my take. Javier, what's on your mind, man?
Oh man, here we go. I feel honestly when I had to I don't watch real estate YouTube content. That, like, if you pull up my personal YouTube content right now, Dungeons and Dragons, whatever game I'm playing, Mad Men clips, podcasts I listen to. I do not. When I occasionally start researching and I see those videos of the housing market bursting and bashing and crashing and all these kinds of things 3 times a week, I just, oh my gosh. But the worst part is people are clicking on them. So, or the housing market updates or the bubble update or stuff like that, right? I think if you look at the whole picture and you at least agree with us that there is a lot of money in play right now to make people into, rental machine rather than homeowners, why would you think they're putting billions of dollars into SFRs if they think they're not going to be able to hold on to the values of that property? So there's people that are much more A, greedier, B, a lot more advanced and educated on these topics than we are. They are putting billions of dollars into this. Not only that, they're overbidding on these properties. So
big time.
Huge, yeah. So I mean, first, let's acknowledge that they are clearly in play right now, and they are not afraid to spend their money. And B, people think they're like freaking HETV, like fixed flippers, and they think they're freaking, I don't know, whatever investor plug in here, because people think that they're gonna just buy a house and sell it 2-3 years later. I keep telling people, and I think I've always said this: do not buy a house unless you're buying long term. And if that's the case, if you're scared about the housing market crash, if you buy a house right now and it loses half of its value in 3 months, who cares? Yep. Who cares? You're going to afford your monthly payment and you're not going to sell next year. So why does it bother you? As long as you can afford your monthly payment, you're living a comfortable life and you're in a fixed interest rate, then this idea that the housing market is going to crash, it doesn't apply to you, because you're not an investor. You're not freaking Warren Buffett. You're not going to be selling your house every 3 years and making billions of dollars. You're going to be living in your house for a long term. And guess what? If you decide to rent, your rent's going to go up every year. You're going to be always at the mercy of whatever the landlord wants to charge you. If you own your home, that payment's pretty much staying around the same, and you're going to own your home. And if the value gets lost and it'll eventually go back up, you will be 100% fine. So the housing market, is it going to crash or not? I personally don't think it will. I think that there will be a position where it starts kind of balancing out, and it will not be increasing at 20% per year like it has been. But as long as what will happen is the cash buyers will eventually slow down. There are so many people that are not only they're buying right now, but there's so many people on the sidelines that they're going to start filling in the demand that the cash people left behind. And relatively, housing isn't to stay expensive. If I'm completely wrong and it crashes, well, I'll stick back to the fact that if you did buy, hold long term and you will be fine.
Yeah, because I'll let these guys talk. I mean, most investors, are they buying an investment to hold for 1 year? No. I mean, all the investors that we've helped this year, because I've helped a few, I know these two have helped quite a few. Have any of your investors said, yeah, I'm going to sell next year, I'm just going to get $100,000 out of this and sell next year? None. Anyway, I'll let you guys, I want to hear your perspective on this whole, the market's crashing and maybe a reaction to Javier. I'll let Ian go first.
So I think that people move for love or money every time. And the people that are thinking that they're going to buy and they're worried about an immediate market crash, the issue is that I might get slapped for this one. They might be, they might be a little insecure in either their love or their money position. And so they're thinking with short-sighted vision, right? Because if you've always rented, then you don't know what it's like to live in a place for 10 years, right? And it's kind of the same thing with work. I remember, we used to know people that have worked at the same job for 20 years and actually be able to retire from there. Yet today you have people often that, oh yeah, I was here for 6 months, I was here for a year and a half, but the stability is different, especially in this world of, everything as a service or a gig economy. And so I think that, and people playing crypto and people playing stock. It's funny because you were talking earlier about builders, and if we're going to see a crash and how the builders are going to react. What I pulled up is what the lumber, the person holding the most in timber, I pulled up their stock market trends, and it matches our market currently perfectly, our trends and our market prices. So, yeah, I just wanted to say that.
That's a good point, man, because it goes back to insecurity almost every time. That's a really good point.
I do agree with Javier on a lot of stuff. I do agree with you that institutional money wants to keep the prices inflated because they're buying, so they want to keep their assets at a high level. One of the things that they mentioned was that they're going to where the returns are. The cool thing that's happening now, and it's the same thing happening with the ability for us as the retail investor to buy stocks in the space where traditionally those were not able to be purchased by a normal little guy. You're buying through a broker, and then most of those shares are being traded by institutional funds that are driving that price. Well, now they're struggling, not struggling, they're figuring it out because they're changing their algorithms to account for the retail trader, but it's easier for the retail trader to disrupt that market now. So the retail trader can go into the stock market and ride the same gains that they weren't able to ride previously. Well, this is kind of now the institutional investors are going into the retail trader space, their single family home, and riding the same gain train that those folks are getting. So I think we are seeing this is an interesting thing. It goes back to my conversation about the fourth turning, right? That I think we're seeing a huge inflection in the way things are done in our culture, in our finances, and the way that we're spreading information and technology and everything. I think a lot of things are changing right now, and we can't rely on the previous decades of experience in order to predict the future behaviors. So I will say that. However, the smartest people in this world let 2008, 2009 happen. They didn't want those investments to crash either. They were heavily invested in real estate and the stock market during that time, and literally the bottom dropped out. And the smartest people in the world allowed that to happen. Okay, so either it happened on purpose, hot take, or they really don't know what they're doing either, right? And they're just kind of following some principles and hoping that everything works out in the end. So from that standpoint, I'd like to think, yeah, our market's going to stay very strong for a very long time. Fundamentally, I have no reason to believe otherwise. Nothing surprises me anymore, but that's kind of the way that I look at that side of it.
What's crazy is they have that confidence because they're just going to get bailed out if they.
That's right.
That's
what I'm saying is that goes back to the conversation about the fact that individually they're taken care of. Like as far as I'm taken care of, I'm making money. I've got my stuff socked away. If I have a feeling something's good, I'm going to move stuff into cash, so it's not a big deal. So I'm going to go that direction. But I don't see it that way. I know we say this, but a lot of people that I look up to financially in the real estate market are saying, hey, this is the new shift. This is our new pricing. This is based on these factors that are going on. This is kind of where we are. Now, I will say, I think the solution for this whole, millennials are only renters and they're not happy in anything for more than a couple of years. Yeah, that's kind of true. We look at changing things up every 2 to 3 years. I think it's like most millennials now have by the time they're 40, are going to have 7 jobs or something, 6 or 7 jobs. So yeah, they want to switch it up. So, you can take advantage of both of these markets as a homeowner and a investor. And my plan for most people would be buy a home. If you can afford it, buy a home as your primary residence, live in it for at least a year, 2 years. If you can, and you've saved, then buy a new home and move that current home into your rental pool, and then continue to do that. Don't ever sell. If you can, move your previous primary residences into your rental pool. Now, the long-sighted version of that is that eventually all of those items, while you can move gain forward, you maybe could move it from one house to another with no gain for a while. The better investment long-term is equity. And the quicker you can get into an equity play by keeping the properties that you own, the better off that you are. And then eventually, if you do sell those properties, moving them from primary residence to an investment property now makes it eligible for 1031 exchange. So you can keep it past the 2 to 5 year requirement for not paying capital gains, and you can keep it indefinitely and move it into future investments without capital gains as well. So that's
if you look at what's happened over the last, let's go micro, right? If somebody purchased a home in the last 2 years and they had when they purchased a 4% interest rate, a lot of people refied in the last year for 2.25, 2.15, 2.5. That's stupid free money, it seems like. So really, if you did purchase in the last 2 years, I mean, you are primed to buy another home. If you have, I mean, obviously you can take out equity of that home. I did see a lot of articles about like Wells Fargo and those places aren't doing home equity loans anymore, but
they took out equity lines of credit.
All lines of credit,
all
personal
lines of credit
as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, the reality is if you are one of those people that bought a home and 2 years later you want to buy another home, obviously you're going to have to build up a nest egg to buy the next one. But let's say the market does slow down, right? Over the next year, it does slow down and there's more inventory. Well, you already have a low interest rate. There's renters out there, obviously. And that's, I mean, so many investment companies are buying investments. Just rent out your house and then move into another property. I mean, at worst, you put 3.5% down, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
that's not a conspiracy theory. I mean,
that's the thing is like everybody's worried about a crash. But for me, if the market turns, I'm just going to rent out the house I'm in. My mortgage I refied is like nothing. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to buy a bigger, nicer house at a lower price.
Yeah. It's almost like Javier's been listening to the Real Mingos stream, you think?
Almost.
As soon as I heard you guys were talking crap, I swore you guys off.
I didn't. Your name's never come out of my mouth.
That's all right. We're coming on
I didn't even know you were until Jeremy introduced you.
Well,
I mean, you're right. The long-term play is that it doesn't matter if it's going to crash or not, or correct or whatever the case is. If you're not selling, it doesn't matter. You don't take a loss until you sell, right? So dollar cost average over the life of the property.
And I know what people are going to say, oh gosh, a bunch of realtors saying this. Of course, I don't care if you use us or someone else. That's why the best weapon you have is to become a homeowner, because then it gives you the power to do what you want. You want to sell, you want to hold and refi till you die, like this guy said here on the chat. Mm-hmm. It's your choice. You have the power. Guess what? You're renting. You're literally on a year lease of your home every year. The best thing I can maybe not the best place to bring it up, but I used to be formerly DACA, which is the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. You have to get a work permit every 2 years. So literally your life is in 2-year increments. You have no idea if it's going to get renewed or not. You have no idea if you're going to be able to provide for your family. It's terrible. And I'm not in a position anymore, thankfully, but that's what you are as a rent, someone who rents is every year you're at the mercy of someone else deciding if they're going to decide to increase your budget like that, or maybe they're going to allow you to keep your monthly payment. You get the power back. You get power as a homeowner.
Well, what we can do as millennials, listen, if the boomers all want to buy the long-term rental properties, fine. We're just going to buy all the vacation properties and we're going to Airbnb them to you for your vacations.
Oh, I love it. I was looking at
all that money you're making off of us. We're going to charge you 10 times that for the weekend.
I was looking at Costa Rica properties earlier, and then I had to close the tab because they are not what I thought they would be.
They expensive.
Oh yeah.
Everywhere's like that. Actually,
I know.
I look, like Austin's a hot market. We're a hot market, but from an appreciation standpoint, we're not one of the top appreciating states. Our market may be, but Texas is not one of the highest appreciating states in the country.
Do you think we're at the bottom, or where do you think we are in the bell curve?
I think we're probably at least 1.5 standard deviations off on the low side.
We've got a bit.
Well, I know Phoenix has been, I mean, if you look at any article, Phoenix, Austin are two that are talked about quite a bit. I mean, where do you think Phoenix is, Javier?
Too expensive, man. I think we are at the top. I think it was like 20 something last time. I had somebody who, we're not the brightest folks. They bought a house last year and they decided they were going to sell it. And even though there was tax penalties, they said, whatever. So they sold it. I think they bought it for like $320, and they sold it for $380 like 8 months later, and they got it. That somebody waived the appraisal. So it's not, appraisals usually are like keeping everything in check. When people are waiving that, when cash enters the market, just all goes out the window. Now that's a new comp, and now other neighbors have a justified reason to sell it for 380 plus, and therefore the cycle continues. So yeah, no, it's insane. And unfortunately, homeownership has gotten out of the hands of normal first-time home buyers now. Now you have to have two people who have pretty okay jobs to qualify, or you have to be a single person who makes really good income. No longer can not even minimum wage, above minimum wage, single worker cannot afford a home anymore.
Here, Javier just brought up a completely unfounded conspiracy theory that I now have.
Okay.
Good job.
What if the appraisers are in it with the bank to not make appraisers to build this belief that appraisals aren't going to hit, and they consistently don't hit, so that people that are going to get loans are scared out of the market. They're going to force themselves back into a refi, which is cheaper for the bank and cheaper for the title companies. And then the cash buyers at BlackRock can scoop in and buy these houses because people are scared of the properties not appraised. What do you think of that one? Mm-hmm. They're all in it together.
Hold on. I got to protect my head for that one.
Completely unfounded. I'm just saying, completely unfounded.
There was an interview with the appraisal recently that someone did, and they'd said literally they're just trying to it's either a yes or no. They're not there to see what the actual value is. They're there to say yes or no. That's why appraisals, we always tell our buyers that, it'd be fine if it appraises, but isn't it always a coincidence that it either comes in like at the value or just a little bit over? Like it's never like, no, we disagree. It's 10,000 more. It's 10,000 less. No, it's always at or above or completely way under.
Well, I mean, that's the job of the appraiser. No disrespect to an appraiser if that's your deal, but their job is not based on, their satisfaction is not based on a specific number. It's like, did it do it or not? Okay, yes, sure. No. Yeah. I'll just justify it and make it work. And if I can't justify it, then we're going to fight with their agent.
I have one closing in San Antonio. It's 3.8 million. And we were sweating the appraisal. I'm not really sweating the appraisal, but it came in at 3.8 million. And it was insane to me because I'm like, all right, either this house is worth 3.750 or it's 3.850. But on the dot, I'm like, I'm glad I made appraisal for everyone, but like, yeah, okay.
What are the chances?
What are the chances? So yeah, well, Javier said it's either a yes or a no. Is 100%. Like I 100% agree with that. One thing you were talking about a second ago, Javier, was clients that made the wrong move. I have a quick story, just real quick. So I have a client at January of 2020 reached out to me. They just purchased the home like 6 months prior, and they're like, "Hey, we want to sell this house because we heard the market's going to crash." In January 20, before there was anything crazy happening, and I told them, "I'm not listing your house. It's a very bad move. Do not sell this house. You guys just don't sell it." And they wanted to list it. And I said, you know what? You're going to have to find somebody else. So they listed with somebody else. They barely broke even. And that house, had they just kept it one more year, would have been worth at least 60 grand more. They would have actually made money. So yeah, making bad decisions. I mean, this is one thing that I hear with a lot of these people that are ringing the bell about, the market crash, right? These are the same people that were ringing the market bell crash last year. And had I listened to them or had some of these buyers listen to them, in some of the zip codes in Austin, property values are 50% more. In Circle C, 78739 are 50% higher than they were Q1 to Q2 or Q1 to Q1 2021. So that's why I get a little squeamish when people full throttle say, okay, there's less mortgage applications, there's more inventory, so the market's crashing. I'm like,
it's like they're looking at the news to see market crash. Oh gosh, this happened. Market crash. YouTube, 20,000 views. Okay.
I had a client get 50% increase from September till June. 50%.
I don't get this comment, but okay. Thank you, Sally. Silly. Yeah. So, I don't sell in San Antonio very often. Only when I have to drive down there. So what are some other conspiracy theories? Javier, you've done a lot of research. I want to hear from you. What are some other conspiracy theories that you feel are out there right now, or some problems that maybe aren't problems?
I have to think about that for a bit. Right now, I'm focusing on the corporate cash buyers. I'm focusing on Zillow. More or less, people are focusing on Zillow right now because it's public info, so people can find it easier. But I just find it hilarious that we funded that. we funded the machine that's killing realtors. I think Zillow is going to make a big play at taking a lot of real estate agents' jobs. right now, or even Redfin or Realtor, if you are someone who's looking to buy a house, you download their app, you want to schedule a showing, they have hundreds of agents ready to show you houses like that. You don't have to worry about things happening or things adjusting. So, I mean, there's a big play in that right now. I'm pretty sure over the next, 4 or 5 years, we're going to start 3 to 5 years, we're going to see a lot of agents leave the business. And the only ones that are going to survive are the ones that can produce their own business. But I see a lot of agents having to go work for a big company or like Zillow or Redfin, or they can leave or they'll build their own business. But I do think that's something that's going to happen pretty soon.
They are killing us in many ways too, though. I mean, you're right. They're killing us in other ways too. Just the first step of, disconnecting the buyer lead from the listing agent and then selling those leads to somebody else because it's their platform. Buyers. I mean, that's ridiculous. For example, they weren't doing that with rentals, right? And now, Zillow can't syndicate to MLS, or it can't syndicate MLS to Zillow anymore because they're a broker in our network. Right. So they can't get that data anymore and syndicate to their site. So they syndicate from syndicate sites, and that's why their data sucks. So if you're searching on Zillow right now, you're getting outdated data because it's basically a copy of a copy, and some of that stuff isn't updated. Data. But they were able to successfully separate the buyer leads from the agent or from the listings and then sell those to other agents, which I'm guilty of. I've done that in the past. But now they never monetized that with leases. So you could list a house for lease and you get like a ridiculous amount of leads because they weren't breaking out lease leads and selling them to another agent. So what did they do? They completely disconnected that part of the process. And if you want to list a lease listing on Zillow, you have to manually enter it into Zillow now and pay $10 per week in order to list a lease listing on Zillow. Isn't that crazy? So yeah, they're trying to disrupt the market, not in one big swoop, but just in little incremental. So you won't notice that it's different. Like, oh, well, now we're going to do this. So you don't know that it's different. So, but at the end of the day, we've always said this, this is a huge transaction that you take part in. Don't trust somebody that's just a part-time deal. I've earned the respect and business of many people that have been jaded by the real estate agents in the industry because like, oh my gosh, you're actually working. You actually know what you're doing. You're actually negotiating on our behalf. Like, yeah, that's my job. Doesn't everybody do that? Like, no, most people. I worked with agents for years and swore them off because they just show up for the showing. They send the contract and they show up for the closing. And that's pretty much it. So I was like, well,
during 2020, not a lot of people showed up for closings. I know I didn't show up for a lot.
2020
doesn't count. But yeah, it doesn't count. I'm showing up to all of them this week, though.
All the closings, all the blue, blue tape walks.
Yeah. Well, cool.
Also, just a heads up, that's why our commissions are going to be starting going down a lot, by the way. We've been overpaid for forever now, and it's slowly. Opendoor now charges at least here 2.25, which there's no standard commissions. Please leave me alone, Respa. But right now, Opendoor is getting away and has been getting away. We're paying 2.25, which is way less than what we usually get paid. Sorry,
go ahead. I want to check out if you're done.
I would say I predict it'll go down to 1 or 1.5%, which soon, because whoever controls the listings controls the commissions. And what are people going to do? Complain? No, it's going to go down.
If they have all the listings, that's
what's 1,000,000% disagree that's going to happen though, because that same sentiment I've heard every few years for as long as I've known real estate. And even before I was even into real estate, I remember an article 20 years ago that said that there was this East Coast brokerage that was doing that and that they were changing the game. And then the commissions are going to be going down. And they were saying literally the same thing you said. And I don't disagree that those things are true, but I don't think that overall we're even anywhere close to disrupting the way that traditional real estate markets are being done. Look at people that came into our market, and you don't know our market, Javier, but like Rex came into our market, and they're like, great, we're going to go straight to the people. We're going to list homes directly on our website, and they're going to buy directly from us. Go to Rex's website. They're like 6 homes on their website. Nobody's going to go to that website. They're going to be like, oh, I exhausted every other option. Let me just go see if Rex has something. That to me is not a player. Even the ones that consider themselves discount, the way I look, the ones I've looked at, they only discount like 1% of the total. So if, for example, you were charging 6% total, 3% to a buyer, 3% to a seller.
There's no standard fees, by the way.
There's no standard fees. I'm just giving numbers. Okay. If it were a number,
theoretically,
what's your agent number?
and I'm only using those because the websites that I looked at for like Orchard and stuff, they use these numbers and they say, if it's 6, then we will only charge you 1. Now, technically, or they'll charge you other fees on top of the 1 to do the listing. And then they'll say like as low as 1%. Well, what they say in fine print is they say it's 1% if the buyer comes unrepresented.
Right. Yep.
Well, that's duh. I mean, like, okay, that rarely happens anyway, that they're going to come unrepresented to the deal. But if they are, then they're still going to pay your buyer's agent the typical prevailing buyer's agent rate for the area. So you're only saving what, like 1% on a deal where they're going to probably cost you way more than that in lost negotiation or marketing. I mean, come on, guys.
I feel like Zillow, the play there is, so Zillow specifically, the play there is that they were like number 2 search engine for real estate, right? So it's really just having the casting a wide net. And the second part of that is convenience, not accuracy of information, right? People want to be able to click button, do things. And that's what Zillow is doing. They're like, hey, here's a house. Here's all the list. Here's all the information you need. Our website's easy. It's pretty. They go there, click. If they want to get to the point where they're buying, it's all very seamless for them in the app. So the only reason Zillow would have a better chance against someone like a Rex is that they have such a massive audience. And I'm not saying I agree with Javier. I really hope he's incorrect. But because if Zillow focuses on improving the customer experience, they could be dangerous. The problem is they're focused on shareholder experience right now.
Yeah. So most home buyers check out Zillow, I think. That's the part that scares me the most, and that's why.
Right. Yeah, they don't do any research. They're like, Zillow, it's on there. I don't know what to do. Okay, let me click.
It was on SNL like a few months ago, right?
Yes,
it's popular. It's becoming a pop culture to, hey, it looked Zillow to fantasize, but really, now if you're looking at their houses, hey, you don't need an agent, or hey, we can get you an agent, and they're going to reduce the commission so they can pay their specific agent a lot less. But I just, if you don't mind giving me your license number, is it Kevin, so I can report you to arrest for violation?
Right.
So
agreed with me? I'm just kidding.
I'm gonna dissent against Ian and Kevin, and I actually agree with Javier here. I do think, I've said this quite a bit. Should a market crash happen, or looking at this year, right? Even CNN interviewed me to be on this article talking about new agents, right? And I actually, the agent they had on there in Austin, I actually called him and talked to him and asked him his experience just in general, because he was a newer agent. A lot of agents are feeling pressure this year. A lot of agents don't understand how to run a business, right? And if your agent's on here and you're going to get mad at me and thumbs down this, go for it. I don't care, because you don't understand how to run a business. And not understanding how to run a business, you run into the fact that you're using Zillow and other companies to get business, right? There's a ton of ways to get business in real estate. And there's a ton of ways to have other flows of income, right? Or streams of income. But I do think that we are already seeing a lot of builders advertising. They're trying to get agents to disincentivize buyers from using agents. They're trying to and then you have a lot of people coming out, and you'll look in the MLS and you'll see commissions aren't what they, generally are, right? As advertised, but you'll also see those homes still sitting on the market longer still.
Yep.
So I do think that there's a happy medium there where we'll see a decent amount of agents out of the market. We will see commissions change, but overall, real estate's not going anywhere. So there's going to be a heavy flow of business still.
I love it.
Javier's just happy I agreed with him.
Yeah. I didn't say I disagree. I just said I hope he's wrong.
What did you say, Javier?
I'll send you your cut later.
Okay,
We're,
cool.
we're actually getting
Referral
partners.
fees.
We're getting a piece of every other business. We're shareholders.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and that's the other thing is if you're not figuring out how to have other streams of income, I mean, it's going to be tough. But all right, we're a little over an hour. I want to, if there's more questions, I want to answer them. Javier, I told you an hour, so if you want to bounce out, totally fine, man. We won't say anything bad about you this time, I promise. And I apologize. I apologize for anything you felt I was rude about. I do appreciate you. I appreciate you coming on the channel. I honestly love the content you put out, man. So
Thank you. Yeah, I guess some parting words is this is a good podcast / video series. So I has my for now at least, unless they unless they go really off the rails with the conspiracy stuff, I give my thumbs up. And I think I think as content creators, our responsibilities are to empower home buyers, which I think everyone has done so far, at least in this podcast. And B, we want to educate people, any potential homeowners out there, to understand the consequence of what it means to take that cash offer. Really just consider all aspects to make sure if you just try to remember yourself when you were buying, right? And try to remember the deeper consequences of what offer you choose. So as long as we can, help home buyers out there, which by either empowering them or educating homeowners, I think, we're creating a change out there.
I love it.
100% agree. 100% agree. Well, cool. Let's see. We got some comments asking about the Boring Company in Austin, mixed use in Bastrop. There's been a lot of content in here. It's up to you guys. If you guys want to keep rolling and answer some of these questions, I'll keep rolling. If not, I'm going to end it here.
Yeah, I probably got to run.
All right. There you go. Drop the comments in the down below. We'll get back to you. Make sure you at Javier if you have any questions for him. I highly recommend you check out his channel, and subscribe to his channel. Great content